So, as you can probably tell, it's been a hot minute, and it's not entirely my fault, but it kind of is. So as I'm recording this, it is September 8th. I haven't talked to y'all since July. I have some footage of August Casey, literally a month ago today, Casey, talking about how Camp Nano went and what they wanted to do for August and all that, and I'm gonna throw it over to them. Spoiler alert, most of what I wanted to do for August didn't happen, but we'll get into that. So, August Casey, here we go. Hey everybody, welcome or welcome back. I'm Casey, and this is me documenting my writing journey. Well, July Camp NaNoWriMo is wrapped up now. Has been for a little bit. I've been slacking, and it kind of went the way I wanted it to, but also not really. So let's go through some stats. Just as a refresher, my goal for Camp NaNoWriMo was to write 31 hours throughout the month, which is about an hour a day, but I didn't end up writing every day, so yeah. So 31 hours is 1,860 minutes. I track both my word counts and the time I spend writing or working on writing projects. And I was looking during Camp Nano July to really focus on like dedicating time to writing. And so that's what I did, focus more on the time, less on the words. Yeah. So what I ended up doing, I wrote for 2,229 minutes, which is 37 hours and change. So we won there, but my intention with Camp Nano was to work on my current work in progress that I'm calling Project PM, which is a young adult contemporary coming of age situation with some elements of like queer romance and all that fun stuff. And I only worked on Project PM 3 days out of the month. I have not touched it since July 8th, which is a month ago yesterday as I'm recording this. I'm not entirely sure what happened. I've been kind of at odds with writing specifically on my computer. And for the first 2 weeks almost of July, I didn't do a lot of writing. I could look at the specific numbers, but I don't think it matters that much how little I did. About partway through July, I was really fed up with how much I wasn't writing and how stuck I felt and how just like I was just not inspired for the project I was working on, and I was just really at odds with like trying to write on my computer. It felt like pulling teeth. So I one day decided to read back through some of my old work, which is one of the steps I will sometimes take to re-inspire myself and just really get back into the vibe of you are a writer, you are writing, just kind of like pulling in these ideas that I haven't thought about for a while and letting it reinvigorate my writing thoughts, my writing process. And after doing that, I kind of like, my brain kind of got like a, not quite a plot bunny, but like kind of like reimagining an old project that I had done. It was something that I like worked on in high school. It was very much a like, I'm just having fun, just not really having a plan for how the plot's gonna go, but just like forcing myself to write chronologically. And the main character in that work is is a character that I'm really fascinated by, and the dynamic that she has with another character who ends up being her love interest was also really fascinating to me. It just really clicked at the time. So I ended up taking that project, reimagining it in like a college setting, and just being like, let's go back to basics. Let's remember how to have fun with this, and let's really return to my roots. And to really return to my writing roots, I pulled out a one subject spiral notebook from the stash of extra blank ones that I have. And I gave myself an hour to just like take the characters from the old project and just reimagine them in this college setting instead of a high school setting. And I like changed a couple names because I've like used the names in other places since then, and I try not to repeat names. And so give myself an hour to like kind of think about that a little bit, think about these characters, what are they gonna do, like what are their college majors, how old are they, stuff like that. And then I just started writing by hand with chapter one, not really having a plan, just kind of like having vibes for like, I know I want this to be like a romancy kind of thing, and like these two characters are gonna meet eventually, but how do they get there? Just going in with like the bare minimum and just forcing myself to write through any sticking points I might run into, anything like that, because I can't just jump ahead and then come back and finish it later. And it doesn't have to be good. I'm having fun. This is very self-indulgent. It is very, I have no expectations of like letting other human eyeballs see this. I am just having a good time. It's a me project. I started writing this on the 15th of July, and I wrote for 13 of the next 16 days of July, and I'm still working on it. And it was fun. So that is what I ended up working on the majority of July. Definitely for like all of the back half, I touched solely that. And then towards the end of July, I was actually talking with my partner about like the struggles that I've been having with Project PM and feeling like I really want to finish this story. Like my year-long goal is to have a finished draft of this, completely finished. Like there aren't any other parts I need to go back and write. It is done. The end. My partner said something that makes perfect sense, but it had not occurred to me at all. They said that I seem to really like revising more than I do drafting, which I absolutely do. Like they said this after I said that like there are some scenes in the current draft that are on their like 4th or 5th iteration because they have like been there since the beginning, or I pulled them from like a previous draft and just kind of like revamped them to like better fit the context and all that. But there are other scenes that like I am writing for the first time, because I've definitely like gotten to a point where it's like pretty much all of the scenes that I have left to write for the entire project are brand new scenes. And when I'm writing brand new scenes, it is either the scene has just like dropped in my head, at least mostly formed, like the dialogue will be there, and I just kind of like run with that inspiration and lay out the dialogue and then go back in and like backfill like descriptions and like this is what the narrator's thinking about right now and all that jazz. Or it's just I have no idea how this is gonna go and I'm just avoiding it until like maybe I do get an idea of how it's gonna go. And like I have the outline done. The outline is there, except for Act 3, but that's a later problem because I'm still writing Acts 1 and 2. I have at least an idea of how the scene wants to go. I just need to write it because I can go back and make it better later. Like my writing mantra for the past like year has been, it doesn't have to be good, it just has to exist. And I just really need to embody that and run with that and finish the damn thing. It was one of the first times that I have really shared all of the like messy, gory little details regarding a writing project or my writing process. Sharing that with another person, it's been a long time. And even back when I like did have writing friends that I could talk with about it, like I didn't get this vulnerable, and it just, I feel very grateful to be in a relationship where I feel so comfortable, even if I'm terrified about it, because I haven't really, being vulnerable is hard. But I am so grateful to be in a relationship where I feel so comfortable finally sharing these feelings that I've been having and getting such a warm reception in return. My partner actually, after that conversation, said that there was a Breadsword video essay that I should watch. And we ended up watching it together the next night, and I'll link it down in the description because it was wonderful, and every Breadsword video essay that I've watched, I've greatly enjoyed. I'm a big video essay girly. But it just talked so much about like grief and how it shapes storytelling. It was just really good, and I'm not doing it justice explaining it. Just please go check it out. It was so good, and it really got some gears turning about Project PM, because one of the themes that it deals with is grief, because the main character Niall recently lost his dad at the start of the novel, so he's still feeling that. Niall's grief about his dad really impacts the choices that he makes or doesn't make throughout the story. And it also deals with grief and like mourning the future you've been imagining for yourself when it's no longer viable, when it's no longer like the path that your life is going to take, and like what that feels like. Let's talk about plans for August. Writing wise, I want to write 1,944 minutes this month, if not more, probably more. Where that number came from, because it isn't like an even number of hours, it's 32 hours and 24 minutes. I don't know. Editing Casey here. I checked my writing word count spreadsheet situation to figure out like where these numbers that I have came from, and I landed on 250 writing days that I wanted to do this calendar year, which 250 out of 365, that's pretty good. And I forget exactly where this average came from, but I wanted to average out to 120 minutes per working day by the end of the year. So I took the working days, multiplied by the 120 minutes per working day, and settled on like 30,000 minutes. I've been counting for the past 13 months at this point, I think, all of my writing time into my overall word count. by equating like a 10 words per minute situation onto every minute that I write. So like if I write for an hour, that's 600 minutes on top of whatever words I wrote during that time. So it just creates an equitable value of plotting time and editing time to writing words time, which was really good for like me feeling better about my the quality of my work and feeling like what I was doing actually matters and all that jazz. So it's kind of like a for me thing, but 30,000 minutes just looking at the time and counting it as 10 words per minute is 300,000 words, which is a lot. So that's kind of where these numbers came from. I think back in like March, I decided to like kind of make like a plan for the rest of the year to make sure that I would be able to like hit these numbers. So I have like some convoluted little table stuff. So that's kind of where the numbers come from. Kind of. This isn't a full explanation. It just offers a little clarity. Let's go back. I also want to replot Act 3 of Project PM. I'm really happy with the plotting work that I've done for Project PM, which I did before I started drafting. I talked all about this in my last video. But the end of Act 2 going into Act 3, historically, like it's not just this project, it's whenever I've tried plotting, that is the place where I get the most hung up. But there's something about like that Dark Night of the Soul beat that like feels like if it's done well, it's fine, but if it's not done well, it feels like that point in like a rom-com or a coming-of-age movie where like the main character like loses all of their friends and all of their popularity or whatever, or their love interest like breaks up with them and just they're like sad and alone and miserable, and then there's like one like 5-minute long conversation that suddenly like sparks a light bulb in their brain and they're like, I know how to fix this, and then happily ever after comes after. And it just feels really cheesy. And I don't always know the best way to approach it in order to not get that cheesy feeling. But I have an idea of a really good title that I like title proper, not just project name. And with that, I think it's going to change where the story ends. So I lose out on like 2 or 3 months of stuff that I had planned that isn't like, it's like important to the story, but it isn't like vital to like the main arcs. So I can get by without a lot of that stuff. So I want to go back through and replot Act 3 because I feel really good about where Act 2 ends. It's just setting up Act 3 to stretch the shorter timeline to fit those final beats in that final act better. So we'll do that, see how that goes. So yeah, looking back on all of my hopes and aspirations that I had a month ago, knowing how the past month has gone, a little funny. Writing wise for August, I ended up writing 2,387 minutes. I wrote like 10,000 words. Most of the writing I did in August was that unnamed project in the Spiral Notebook that I was talking about. So here's the thing with Project PM. I did a lot of thinking because I'm very good at that, and I've decided that, with the exception of like 5-ish scenes, I'm just scrapping Act 3. Which I feel like kind of just solves all my problems, but probably not. We're gonna pretend that it does. So yeah, Act 1 and Act 2 are gonna stay pretty much the same, and we're just gonna tack a handful of scenes on the end to like wrap some stuff up, get the ending that we want, all that jazz. And part of me wants to go through and replot all the beats and everything to make sure that like everything feels fine, but I think I'm just gonna write it, because like all of those beats from Act 1 and Act 2 I want to stay the same. I'm just lobbing off a whole bunch from the end. So I think we're gonna write it all and then go from there, see what we need. I've also started a new draft of it where I am just starting at the beginning and writing through just in chronological order. And so it's a lot of rewriting what I've already written, which kind of needed to happen because, yeah. Someone is weed eating outside. I am so sorry. But we're going through, rewriting what I've already written, and then if I hit any of those holes that that month ago Casey talked about, where I haven't written that part yet, I just kind of skipped over it, I'm gonna make myself write it. And it is going to suck. It is going to be really bad, and that is okay. Because I just want it to be done. Like, I have been hemming and hawing over, like, this is the project that I've been working on in some capacity since 2013. And I'm sick of not having anything done. I have not finished a full draft of this since probably 2017. Which is bonkers. I need to finish something. It just needs to be done. So, yeah, we're doing that. The rest of September, I want to finish Act 1. We'll see if that happens. Or Act 1. Which I think I could do. Yeah, writing has been slow the past couple weeks. And this time it's not entirely my fault. I had, at the end of August, a bit of a health situation, and like everything's fine now. But there was a fair bit of recovery time that I had to do, just like chilling out at home, taking it easy, not like doing anything super involved physical energy wise or mental energy wise. So that kind of put a damper on the writing situation. I still kind of feel like writing wise I'm bouncing back a bit. I have started this new draft of Project PM that I was talking about earlier, and I'm like almost 3,000 words in, but I really do hope that I can power through Act 1, because between Act 1 and Act 2, Act 1 is the most done, has the least holes in it, and some of the holes that I have to fill in Act 1 are just like the connective tissue, where like I have part of a scene happening and then there's like a little bracket note I left to myself that's like, and then this happens, but I don't want to write it right now, and then more. I just need to like fill those gaps and stuff. Like Act 2, it gets dicey. There's some stuff in Act 2 that like I have written and it's nice and all that, and then there are so many parts of it, especially in the back half, where it's like I have never written a single iteration of this, and I'm afraid to. Let me know how your September is going. This should go up in September, I hope. Let me know if you'd like to see a little like tour, whatever, of my word count tracking spreadsheet. I could definitely figure out how to screen record and do that. I think I can do that. I also have this really silly and goofy idea for a series of videos that I might do, might not do, I don't know, of stepping through year by year at the entire like timeline of every writing project I've worked on, because I went through and like figured all of that out to the best of my ability. And like I started writing in April of 2011, so there is like 12 and a half years worth of stuff. I don't know. I mean, let me know. Bye.